Well, that was way nicer than I deserved. My beloved colleague, Jonathan Walton, shared his church with me this summer, and I'm grateful to him in so many ways for his colleagueship here. So thank you very much. And thank you, Dean Hempton, for inviting me to give this year's convocation address. It's a wonderful assignment to offer an extended welcome to our new students and colleagues, but also a daunting one, because the convocation addresses I've been privileged to hear at HDS have been so significant for me. From Anne Browdy's History of Women at HDS in 2005, to Anne Monius's Reconsideration of the Idea of Relevance in 2007, to Dean Hempton's own meditation on religious conflict last year. Many of the addresses I've heard over the last 13 years have drawn me into a deeper consideration of our shared work and my own place within it. This year's convocation actually marks the 10th anniversary of a convocation address that had a tremendous impact on me and on our school. It was an address that I listened to with mounting excitement, an address that stimulated long conversations with colleagues and students, and that ultimately helped to shape the direction of our school. Professor Janet Ghiazzo titled her 2003 convocation address, "Where Do We Stand?" And it was a good question. We were in 2003 as a school groping our way through a sea change. We knew our curricular structure no longer took account of everything we and our students were trying to do intellectually, but we didn't know what structure would give us more room to move. We knew that our degree programs needed to be reshaped, but we didn't know what those new shapes would be. We were dreaming of new faculty in new fields of study, but nearly half of our current faculty had not yet joined us. And after many years of holding our convocation in the Memorial Church in Harvard Yard, we were under a tent for the first time. That tent, though, was pitched on the other side of Andover Hall, because the ground on which we're standing was still a parking lot in 2003. I still remember so vividly what it felt like sitting under that tent. It was a beautiful, breezy day, and I was listening to Professor Ghiazzo unspool her vision of the possibilities our changing school held within it. She imagined an MDiv program in which a budding Zen priest would hone the wit and passion of her Dharma talks in classes on Christian preaching, just as the ministries of budding Christian pastors had been shaped by their encounters with Buddhist ethics in their coursework. She imagined a curriculum that, instead of lumping the religions of the world into one area, would invite us to think with and learn from the scriptures, hermeneutics, ethics, theologies, histories, and practices of all the religious traditions studied here. She imagined a school in which passionate students and teachers not only studied religion together, but inhabited the questions of religion together. And when I listened to her describe her Intro to Buddhism course in the Sperry Room a few days ago, it was clear that she continues to experiment with these ideas in her own classroom. In the 10 years since she gave her address, many of her ideas have become realities, although certainly not in any complete or finished way. And that was Professor Ghiazzo's point, that the place where we stand is in constant motion, always changing, always new. Professor Ghiazzo sang a hymn that day to the multiplicity that marks our community, the multiplicity of religious traditions for which our school might train leaders, the undecidability of our questions as scholars of religion, and the hybrid mission of our school. But she also made a case that day for what we have in common. We have a common calling, she said, in the study of religion. But Professor Ghiazzo went further than that. She called for our shared work to be animated by what she called a love of religion, a passionate religiosity. What would it mean, she asked us, to study religion religiously? Not by claiming a generic universal religion that underlie all traditions, and not necessarily because we are devoted to a particular religion, although we might be, but because we are devoted to the study of this deeply human way of receiving and responding to the world, devoted to turning it in the light of our methodologies and commitments, our historical and philosophical questions, and our hopes for human freedom and flourishing. Of the many ideas that thrilled me that day, this was the one that thrilled me the most. Because Janet was saying something out loud I'd always felt in studying religion and observing others study religion, that this is some of the most deeply devotional work we can do.